like their
cute.
food.
Yeah, they
I went to a birthday
What kind of
party
dog?
there
It's
like a month
kind of
ago. It
pointer
is yummy.
beagle mix. It's from a shelter.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You
we
ever
always
going to the
Where,
city?
where'd you,
Maybe go
where'd you go
away.
with shelter?
North Shore.
Yeah.
Okay,
North
yeah,
Shore Animal League.
yep,
He's a good dog.
yeah,
Where does Ellen live?
Yeah,
Huh?
spring
Buddy.
break.
buddy,
Oh,
very
so there's
nice.
a new restaurant,
Yeah.
Pecorino Bianca,
Awesome.
They put the
across
treats in there and
from
they let to get the games out. You know, so
Yeah.
it's cute. Yeah, he's a
Yeah.
good dog. Yeah.
How old?
gelato place.
Oh,
eight,
that's
eight
a great
months,
picture.
9 months. Or
Yeah.
You
Oh,
have to
look
have
at
gelato and eat it.
That's
It's
awesome.
yeah, he's a good
unbelievable.
dog.
Good, good, excellent.
Okay.
Yeah, he's like 8, 9
Ellen
months.
is probably,
in there.
well, Ellen has
It's
tried to give up
amazing.
ice cream. It hasn't worked very well.
Hi.
Where is it, this place?
All right, thank you.
Pecorino, I'll look it up for you.
10 seconds. I usually give it 15.
Go for ethnic food just because.
Well, it's Italian. You like ethnic Italian or what do
No,
you?
I like Indian. Japanese.
All right,
I
can you
like it.
please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you and good evening. It is Tuesday, February 14th, Valentine's Day. Happy Valentine's Day to everybody. We'll try and make this quick. We just came from executive session where we discussed fire contract negotiations and water company matters. The first item on our agenda is a public hearing on a local law amending Chapter 162 and Chapter 250, Section 4.1 of the Village Code concerning the construction and installation of oil burning equipment, gas burning equipment, and fuel storage tanks. So, can I have a motion and a second to open the public hearing?
So
please?
moved?
Second.
Trustee Epstein?
Yes.
Trustee Fisher?
Yes.
Trustee Heiser?
Yes.
Trustee Morlino?
Yes.
Mayor Klein?
Yes, thank you. And do we want a brief summary of it? I mean, I think we've been through this a few
Sure,
times
yeah, we've done this a
already.
few times, but basically, there's more of this type of equipment being located outside of homes. This local law regulates the exterior of any oil burning or gas fuel burning equipment or fuel storage tanks, and also for commercial districts and residential districts, and also requires that the equipment be co-located where there's other equipment, and that screening be provided around that type of equipment. And it gives some discretion to the building department based on the conditions in the field.
Great, thank you. I would say one thing that has changed since the last time we discussed this is that we did receive report and recommendation from the planning board that recommended that we pass it, and adopt the law.
Yes.
So this being a public hearing, do we have any comments from the public? Do we have any comments from the board? Okay, so can I have a motion and second to close the public hearing, please?
Motion.
Second?
Trustee Epstein?
Yes.
Trustee Fisher?
Yes.
Trustee Heiser?
Yes.
Trustee Morlino?
Yes.
Mayor Klein?
Yes, thank you. Thank you to everyone who worked on this. We'll move right into the resolution. Resolution number 1, considering adopting a local law to amend Chapter 162 and Chapter 250, Section 4.1 of the Code of the Village of Rye Brook concerning construction and installation of oil burning equipment, gas burning equipment, and fuel storage tanks.
One question. I'm sorry.
Whereas the Village of Rye Brook Board of Trustees desires to regulate the location and installation of fuel burning equipment, gas burning equipment, and fuel storage tanks in the same manner that the village currently regulates permanent standby generators. And whereas the proposed local law was introduced in December to amend these chapters of the code concerning the construction and installation of these types of equipment. And whereas on December 13th, the Board of Trustees referred the local law to the Planning Board and the Westchester County Planning Board and the Village Planning Board. And whereas the County Planning Board provided comments on January 3rd, and the Village Planning Board would provide a report and recommendation dated January 12th. And whereas the Board of Trustees held a public hearing on the proposed local law on January 24th and continued on February 14th, at which time all those were interested in an opportunity to be heard, and the public hearing was closed on February 14th. And whereas proposed local law is, and this action is an unlisted action pursuant to seeker, and whereas the Board of Trustees is fully familiar with the proposed local law, now therefore be resolved that the Board of Trustees of the Village of Rye Brook in accordance with seeker and upon review of the short environmental assessment form and other materials, hereby adopts the attached negative declaration for proposed local law, finding that the adoption of the local law will not result in any significant environmental impacts, and be it further resolved, the Board of Trustees of the Village of Rye Brook hereby adopts the proposed local law to amend Chapter 162 and Chapter 250 of the Code of the Village of Rye Brook concerning the construction and installation of oil burning equipment, gas burning equipment, and fuel storage tanks.
Thank you, Chris. Can I have a motion and second, please?
Motion.
Second.
Any other further discussion?
I think we've discussed this out.
I think we have.
Trustee Epstein?
Yes.
Trustee Fisher?
Yes.
Trustee Heiser?
Yes.
Trustee Morlino? Yes. Mayor Klein?
Yes, thank you. Resolution number 2, considering the appointment of an administrative aide. Sorry, I'll get that out of there.
Now therefore be resolved that in accordance with the offer of appointment dated January 30th, 2023, Gregory Rivera of 3515 Katrina Drive, Yorktown, is hereby appointed to the position of Administrative Aide with the Village of Rye Brook, subject to the civil service procedures of the State of New York, and be it further resolved that the annual salary is $59,520 with an effective start date of February 15th, 2023.
Thank you, Chris. Can I have a motion and second, please?
Motion.
Second.
Is he allowed to call the roll?
Trustee Epstein.
Yes.
Trustee
Congratulations.
Fisher.
Yes,
Trust-
congratulations.
Trustee Heiser.
No, it's a coincidence because we already have an employee named Greg Rivera. So that's only the second one. But yes.
Trustee Morlino.
Yes.
And Mayor Klein.
Yes, congratulations. Greg.
Congratulations to Greg. He's
Congratulations,
doing a great job for us. He works really. He's a really hard worker, and he's really working closely with all the departments and the village board, and just doing a great job. Great job. We're helping me out on large projects, small projects, and all the above.
Thank you, Greg. We appreciate all your work.
Sure, of course.
Good evening. Happy Valentine's Day, of course, to everybody. But again, I just want to say thank you to all of you, of course, for I cannot believe it's been already more than a year. But I can't thank everybody enough, including the board members we have in Administrator Bradbury. Of course, I can't thank you enough for giving me the opportunity to work for the Village of Rye Brook. And it really is a great place to work and a great community to serve. And all the residents and all the village employees that we have, it really is a team effort. And of course, I almost forgot our Council DeMarco too. And everyone from our consultants to our residents to our advisory councils. Again, this is a community that, in large part, because the success relies on everyone coming together and working together, and that's something that I've always held dear to my heart. So this community was and continues to be a great fit for me. So I just look forward to continuing to serve, and I look forward to continuing to work with you guys as the board and the rest of the community at large.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And that's after a day of budget meetings too.
All right, resolution number 3, considering the reappointment of Joan Feinstein to the Town of Rye Board of Assessment Review.
Whereas there's an existing agreement between the Town of Rye and the villages of Rye Brook and Portchester describing the method of appointment for members of the Town of Rye Board of Assessment Review. And whereas in accordance with this agreement, in June 2019, Joan Feinstein was appointed to the Board of Assessment Review to fill the balance of the term previously held by Milt Meiskin that was scheduled to expire on September 20th, 2022. And whereas the village board recommends the reappointment of Joan Feinstein to the Board of Assessment Review as the Rye Brook designated member for a new 5-year term that began on October 1st, 2022. Now therefore be resolved that the Village of Rye Brook Board of Trustees hereby recommends that Joan Feinstein of 4 Robbins Roost, Rye Brook, New York, to serve as the Rye Brook designated member to the Town of Rye Board of Assessment Review for a 5-year term that began on October 1st, 2022, in accordance with the IMA between the Town of Rye and the villages of Rye Brook and Portchester.
Thank you, Chris. Can I have a motion and second, please?
So moved. Second.
I would thank Joan and Mayor Feinstein for stepping up to help out the village in this way and volunteering her time again.
Chris, did my hearing aids malfunction when, or did you say 4 Robin's Roost when in fact it's 6 Robin's Roost?
Ah,
Okay.
good catch.
Thank you.
No, the resolution has it correctly.
Not this one. This one says 4.
Oh, mine said, I thought mine said 6. My
I have 4, so we'll correct it.
There,
All right.
she's at 6.
Good catch.
Thank you.
Yay.
All right.
Good catch, yes.
Good credit my hearing aids.
How are those?
They're just One in each year? That's great.
Trustee Epstein?
Yes, thank you, Joan.
Trustee Fisher?
Yes.
Trustee Heiser?
Yes.
Trustee Morlino,
Yes.
Mayor Klein?
Yes, thank you again. Resolution number 4, considering approving use of the village streets for the 2023 Wall Street Rides FAR, the For Autism Research event.
Now therefore be resolved that subject to the final approval of the Rye Brook Police Department, the Autism Science Foundation is authorized to use the Village of Rye Brook streets for the 2023 Wall Street Rides FAR, or For Autism Research charity bike event on Saturday, September 30th, requested in a letter dated February 1st, 2023. And be it further resolved, the village streets shall be used in compliance with the terms and conditions established by the police department.
Thank you, Chris. Can I have a motion and second, please?
Second.
This is an annual event. It seems to have minimal impact on us.
Yes.
So,
I don't even think they close the streets. I think they keep them open and ride
because I
through.
think they're far enough spaced
Yeah.
by the time they get to us. And so we appreciate the ability to be able to participate in this.
Yes.
So, any other questions, comments?
No, I think it's great. It's good.
Just so you know, it can be a 62-mile ride,
Yeah.
so people will be going multiple times. Is that what that is?
I think there's different routes that they take.
So if it's six, it can be, because I mean, we could just join in the last mile.
That won't be in Rye Brook.
There's a 5K walk
Like the
option.
Rosie Ruiz and just show up at the end.
Catch the subway for most of it.
Exactly. My specialty.
Trustee Epstein?
Yes.
Trustee Fisher?
Yes.
Trustee Heiser?
Yes.
Trustee Morlino?
Yes.
I just want to make sure that the residents are made aware of it, where they do cross in Rye Brook.
We can send like an email blast prior to it. It's not until September, but we have,
Great.
we'll make sure we
If
do.
could
Email
just
blast,
Make sure that they're aware of it, because sometimes we get a little flack for that.
Sure.
Trustee Epstein, I'll also do social media posts too, just as a reminder.
Thank you so much.
And Mayor Klein?
Yes. Thank you. Resolution number 5, considering a contract with Educational Services Commission of New Jersey for a cooperative purchasing agreement.
Whereas Educational Commission in New Jersey, or ESCJN, governments and acronyms, allows for municipalities to purchase a multitude of equipment, parts, and services, and whereas the Village of Rye Brook desires to contract with ESCJNJ for the use of their cooperative purchasing agreement in a manner so as to assure the prudent and economical use of public monies, and be it further resolved, the Village of Rye Brook Board of Trustees hereby approves an agreement with ESCJNJ for the use of their cooperative purchasing agreement, and be it further resolved, the mayor and administrator are authorized to sign and execute said agreement.
Thank you. Can I have a motion and second, please?
So moved. Second.
Thank you again to Michael Nowak, who continues to find these crazy places
I
to buy
know.
things.
Or we can find the lowest prices.
Wherever we can. It helps, especially now in budget season.
Yes, it does.
So thank you, Michael, for continuing to look out for the financial interest of the village.
Trustee Epstein?
Yes, thank you, Michael.
Trustee Fisher?
Yes, thank you.
Trustee Heiser?
Yes.
Trustee Morlino,
Yes.
And Mayor Klein?
Yes, thank you. Resolution number 6, considering an addendum to iNavigator ACA Dashboard User License Agreement with Marshall and Sterling.
Okay. Give me 1 sec. Whereas on June 28th, 2018, the Village of Rye Brook Board of Trustees approved an agreement with Marshall and Sterling, Inc. for a web-based application of Navigator Dashboard Program for employee tracking and reporting concerning the Affordable Care Act and related services. And whereas, under the terms of the agreement, agreed to provide these services to assist in compliance with the Affordable Care Act for an annual cost of $6,000 per year. And whereas the Village of Rye Brook received a notice on February 7th from Marshall and Sterling that there will be a price increase of $500 effective this billing cycle for a total price of $6,500. And whereas the price increase will require an addendum to the original agreement by the mayor and the Village of Rye Brook. And whereas the Village of Rye Brook seeks to retain these services provided by them, and now therefore be resolved that the Village of Rye Brook Board of Trustees hereby approves the addendum for the iNavigator ACA Dashboard User Agreement with Marshall and Sterling to authorize a price increase to retain employee tracking and reporting services concerning the ACA, and be it further resolved, the mayor and administrator are authorized to sign any documents necessary to accomplish the purposes of this resolution.
Thank you, Chris. Can I have a motion and a second, please?
Second.
I think this is minimal, and it's been a
number of
while
years.
for you, number of years since they have asked, so I think we're okay with this.
Yes.
I have a question, and I just thought about this. We have a risk manager.
Mhm.
Do they offer these services also?
Not directly through our risk management services. That's more for insurance and loss control. We
Right,
can,
but they're
we can
insurance
ask them.
brokers.
We can ask them.
I
I'll
think
ask
that
them
would
if you
be
like.
helpful, because I think
So
that.
before we sign the agreement, I'll talk to them about the offering of that service and try to get a price and see how it compares before we sign it.
That is fine, because I know that if they're insurance brokers, every insurance broker has this capability right now,
Okay.
because it's mostly a software-driven thing. I did a little snooping today on the internet while looking at it, and I know that we hire FOA.
We do.
Right.
We'll contact them and we will ask them if they provide it, and we'll get a price if they do. And if it's comparable, then we may bring this back to you, and if not, then we'll if the board approves, we'll execute it.
Great, thank you.
Sounds good.
So if you don't mind addending the resolution,
Okay,
just
wait.
say,
Sorry about that.
provided that our risk manager is unable to provide the same value for this service.
As amended.
So, motion second as amended?
Second.
Trustee Epstein?
Yes, thank you, Chris.
Trustee Fisher?
Yes.
Trustee Heiser?
Yes.
Sorry, Trustee Morlino,
Yes.
Mayor Klein?
Yes, and thank you for that suggestion. We shall see whether we can get something better. Resolution number 7, considering an agreement with Cablevision Lightpath INC and the Village of Rye Brook for an E-LAN connection system.
This is a very confusing resolution with a lot of references, because basically there's a series of agreements that are in place that we're modifying. So whereas long story short, at the end of the day, what we're doing is providing a connection for our police communication system. But I'll read it through. So the County of Westchester and Cablevision Lightpath entered into an agreement dated July 26th, pursuant to which agreement they agreed to provide the County of Westchester and interested participants, including the Village of Rye Brook, with certain telecommunications services pursuant to a price schedule and volume discount set forth in a 5-year agreement. And whereas the County of Westchester and Cablevision Lightpath subsequently entered into a First Amendment to agreement in July 10th, 2020, which extended the term by another 5 years to 2025 and made certain amendments to that agreement, including but not limited to modified pricing and volume discounts, and also making additional services available. And whereas the Village of Rye Brook, as an interested participant, seeks to obtain certain telecommunications services from Cablevision Lightpath pursuant to that agreement as governed by and subject to the agreement and the First Amendment, now therefore be resolved that the Board of Trustees of the Village of Rye Brook, as an interested participant, hereby approves the telecommunications service obtained by the Village of Rye Brook from Cablevision Lightpath pursuant to a service order as governed and subject to the agreement and the First Amendment. Be it further resolved, the mayor and administrator are authorized to sign any documents necessary for this resolution.
Thank you, Chris. Can I have a motion and a second, please?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, so all of that
Anyone
is something
care
that
to-
took a lot, just to summarize what this is. So, and thanks to Ralph DeMarco of Keenan Bean for navigating through all the agreements to see exactly what we need to do to put that in place. But long story short, this is to purchase a E-LAN connection for which is necessary for our new MTA radio system.
That's what I was going to ask you.
Yes.
It's all
basically
part of that
putting
new
in
system,
part
right?
of that system.
Yeah.
And we're able to use the volume discounts through the Lightpath agreement.
Right, okay.
They also have, just so you know, the customer billing account name is Village of Rye Brook Treasurer's Office. Treasurers.
Treasurers?
No,
Spelled
treasurer.
wrong.
Treasurers.
Treasures.
Treasurers,
Treasurers.
plural.
Okay.
It's easy for you to say.
Yeah.
When's this all going to take effect with our new equipment?
It's all taking effect this year. I mean, Portchester's already live.
Oh.
Rye Brook has gotten their equipment in place.
Oh, they got it.
And
Okay,
we've
good.
gotten some of our equipment, and we're just putting all the rest of the connections in place.
So by August, you think?
I don't want to commit to that, but I'd say sometime over the summer.
Good.
But we'll be running redundant systems for a while,
Great,
too.
great. Great.
Some of it has to do with the delivery issues that are involved.
Okay.
Any other questions or comments? Okay.
Trustee Epstein?
Yeah, yes, please, thank you.
Trustee Fisher?
Yes.
Trustee Heiser?
Yes.
Trustee Morlino,
Yes.
Mayor Klein?
Yes, thank you. Resolution number 8, considering a stipend for a senior office assistant, office manager.
Whereas Rose DeScoli, Senior Office Assistant Office Manager, has been assisting the Treasury Department since January 26, 2023, due to temporary staff shortage. And whereas the Village of Rye Brook wishes to compensate her while performing these additional responsibilities, now therefore be resolved that effective January 26, 2023, Senior Office Assistant Office Manager Rose DeScoli shall be provided a stipend of $250 per paycheck for additional responsibilities assisting the Treasury Department until such time as these services are no longer needed due to those staffing shortages.
Thank you, Chris. Can I have a motion and second, please?
So moved.
Second.
I would just say thank you to Rose for
Yes.
stepping up into
It's a big help.
this.
It's a big
It's been
help.
especially at this time of year, it's been tough,
Yes,
and we really appreciate all the help she's been giving.
we'll share that with her.
Any other questions, comments?
No.
Yes. Thank you to Rose once again. Trustee Epstein?
Thank you, Rose, yes.
Trustee Fisher?
Yes.
Trustee Heiser?
Yes.
Trustee Morlino,
Yes.
Mayor Klein?
Yes. Thank you. And we have 2 add-on resolutions. Resolution number 9, considering setting a public hearing amending Chapter 113, Article 2, Section 4 of the Village Code to establish registration requirements for deputized electrical inspectors.
Now therefore be resolved that the Village of Rye Brook Board of Trustees shall hold a public hearing on Tuesday, February 28th, 2023, in the proposed local law amending Chapter 113, Article 2, Section 4 of the Village Code to establish registration requirements for deputized electrical inspectors.
Thank you, Chris. Can I have a motion and second, please?
Moved.
Second.
Okay, so let me explain what this is. So over the years, pretty much all municipalities except for some of the largest municipalities who have their own electrical inspectors, basically you create a list of electrical inspection companies that can provide electrical services to verify that the electrical work was done correctly by the contractor. They are essentially representing the municipality. So when they go out there, so that's why we have to authorize who can provide the service. There's a series of companies that are out there doing that. One of the companies that was probably the most popular company that we had, the most frequent one that was used, we had 2 companies last year. That company that was most frequently used has now retired. The person's retired. They're out of the company. Is now no longer there. So we only have 1 company. So we'd like to offer it now to additional companies, but we also want the opportunity to have a registration process where they can be interviewed, experienced, because they are representing us. So
Right.
this is the separate outside electrical firms that review the work and essentially represent us. So we need to make sure they have the insurances and they have all the criteria. So that's why we are, rather than just kind of put it out there, like most communities will just put it out there and authorize, the building inspector will authorize who can do it. We want to have a process to have in place that is clear to everybody and everybody have the same opportunities.
Okay, makes sense. So this is a process to hire
To get more
several
firms.
different companies to potentially do the service.
And
How
then
do
the
we-
residents will choose which one they want from that list of firms.
So how do we amass this list where they come to us, though?
They'd have to come to us with an application to represent us for electrical inspectors as an electrical inspection company, and then we would interview, get their background information, and then if they get authorized, then residents would pick from that list.
So
Right
it
now,
wouldn't
they
be-
pick from lists.
wouldn't be the resident, be the electrical contractor that would pick, really, right? That's
We would
typical.
pick we would say which companies are authorized to do the work.
And they would
Right.
choose from that list.
Well,
Residents would pick from that list of companies
Is
that
it
are
going to
authorized.
be an endless list, or are you going to cull and
Well,
pick a
probably, no,
few?
there's only like 4, Sal, what is there, 4 companies maybe?
yeah, there's
3 or 4
yeah,
companies
yeah,
out
there's not
there?
many out there. But there should be a broad number. It's
Yeah.
good to,
And
you know.
how are,
Residents, it's up to them to pick the company, which is what it's been in the past.
well, no, what it's
So,
been in the past is
we
the
do.
electrical contractor would hire whatever electrical inspector company out there. It wouldn't be the homeowner, it would be the contractor that,
Technically, it's the homeowner, but it's because they're the ones who are paying for it, but it's,
well,
yeah. or
through the
whoever-
billing of the electrical contractor.
Yes, yes. But the resident, it's really the homeowner's choice at the end of the day if they
If
don't
they
want
want
to
to,
pick the
right,
company.
yeah.
But in the past, as
They don't.
Trustee Morlino said, probably the electrical contractor's going to tell them which one you should use, but they can't use them without being authorized to work. as a
Exactly.
member.
There's a list that every
That we would
municipality
have.
has that says these are the three we
We,
are qualified to do.
No, they're
as far as we're
qualified to
concerned.
represent, because
Yeah.
essentially what they're doing is they're signing off on the electrical work
Yeah,
that was
no,
completed.
absolutely.
And that's what's going in our file as
and they have
proof
to
that
have
that was
insurance,
inspected.
right, of
Yeah.
course.
Yeah, we want to make sure that they have, they didn't just start last month and that they have the right insurance to back it up or haven't had any problems in other communities, that kind of thing.
Right, and we talked about having our own electrical inspector, but
We
we're
considered
not that
that.
busy enough to really maybe do that yet.
Yeah, we were thinking about that, and I even reached out to all my colleagues
Right.
about it, and really the only ones who are doing that are the largest
Large
cities
cities,
that
New
have
Rochelle.
their own full-time electrical
Yeah.
inspectors.
Right, exactly. White Plains, right,
Yeah.
exactly. Okay, sounds good.
And this way people have choices. It's
Right.
matter.
They should,
No,
rightfully so.
how does the billing work?
The billing goes, the residents pay directly to the electrical inspector, so it doesn't have to be added to our fee schedule. But we'll have an application fee for the inspector.
Right. Right. Okay, so it'll be based on our fee.
The fees are done by the electrical company.
Oh, it's done.
So it would vary?
Part of the process,
Yeah.
they have to provide us with a list of their costs,
Okay.
Oh, and
of what they
so,
charge.
so we
if
will
people
provide that
choose,
to our
whoever
residents?
asks, we'll have a copy of what they gave us.
Okay. All right,
That's
so
part of
again-
the application process, is to provide their background, proof of insurance, municipal references, and also a list of what their fees are.
Okay.
It's probably an hourly fee, so it's still an
I don't know if their
it's
fee
an
structures are
amorphous
built, so I'll have to
number.
ask. It might even be by you per outlets.
per
or-
hou- yeah.
Yeah. All right, again, this is just setting the public hearing.
Yeah,
Yep.
Right.
good.
Just want to understand it, thank you.
There's only a few that have it in a local law, but we think it just makes sense to make it really clear for everybody. Here's what the rules are, and I think that's the fairest way to do it.
Yeah,
Agree.
okay. I like that.
When are we setting it for?
Trustee Epstein,
Yes.
Trustee Fisher,
Yes.
Trustee Heiser,
Yes.
Trustee Morlino,
Yes,
Mayor Klein.
Yes, thank you. Resolution number 10, considering a general fund budget transfer to purchase a replacement salter.
Ooh.
we don't need that this year, I hope.
I hope this doesn't jinx us.
It's still early.
I think if everybody goes out with their salt shaker in
hope
front of their
this doesn't
property
jinx us, that's
and
all.
goes,
Very simple
No, this is like
resolution.
carrying the umbrella, so it won't rain. It's getting the salter, so it won't snow.
Be it resolved that the following budget transfer is hereby approved for the 2022-2003 operating budget. So this is from general central garage equipment account in the amount of $9,234 to the highway maintenance equipment. It's just getting it to the right account. Is $9,234. It's equal amount.
Thank you. Can I have a motion second, please?
So moved. Second.
Pretty straightforward.
Yeah, we had basically a circuit. We lost our whole circuit board on one of our current salters. That's why it wasn't anticipated. But luckily, we're trying to use funds that we have existing rather than contingency or anything else. So we're transferring from another account.
maybe we can get a good price
You
on one
want
of
to
those right
transfer
now.
out of the salt account?
Right?
That would be
That you
jinxing
could,
it.
you could, but
And I'm betting that this is one of the things that Mike found through one of the
yes, he found
connections.
Pennsylvania. I think he
Yeah,
found
that's
it.
what
Yeah.
I'm looking at, so he's
Yeah, this
so
was one of
good.
Mike's. Because we found 3 different quotes and 3 different vendors, and this was a great deal out in Pennsylvania. I think we have to go get it, but it's
That's
worth
all
it
right.
for the
This is
price.
a used piece of equipment?
No, it's
Brand
new.
new,
Here,
okay.
it's in
It
here.
doesn't have an eagle sticker on it, does it?
Not that I know of.
It's irrelevant. If it saves thousands of dollars, we'll take the sticker.
No,
This came
Paint
for,
over the sticker.
no, we have to have some pride.
All right.
Trustee Epstein,
Yes, thank you, Michael.
Trustee Fisher,
Yes.
Trustee Heiser,
Yes.
Trustee Morlino,
Yes,
Mayor Klein.
Yes, thank you. Administrator's report.
Okay, so I have a few items. One, I just want to alert everyone, and I put this in the board packet last week, that one of the things in the governor's executive budget that was proposed is a concern to municipalities, and we heard this up at a meeting I went to up in NICOM last Sunday, was this New York Housing Compact proposal. So I just want to alert that that's something we should keep an eye on. There was a similar proposal last year that was that did not move, but there is. So basically, what this law would require, if this executive budget item would require, which is that you need to. There's definitely a need for more housing in New York State, but there's a concern there's not enough housing for the amount of jobs that are there. So the governor really wants to create items that allow for more housing, and they're creating what they call these safe harbor communities. And as part of that, people that are served by the Long Island Railroad or Metro North would have to have a 3% increase in housing units over a 3-year period. It's 1% increase over 3 years if you're not served by those two train areas. In order to not have that occur, then you need then if you don't do that, then the state will, if you either don't increase your housing by 3%, or if you don't approve two of five predefined preferred actions, like requiring that there be accessible accessory apartments and things like that. If you don't approve legislation in 2 of 5 defined areas or have a 3% increase, then there's then developers would be able to bypass local zoning and be able to build certain developments, high rise, things like that, particularly around train stations. So this is a concern to local municipalities, one, because it's not typical for the state to mandate that type of an approach. So it's something that we want to keep an eye on, and by allowing to bypass local zoning is not typical. So something to keep an eye on. It's something that's a concern. There's definitely a need for more housing in much of the area, but the question is, there might be better ways of going about it. And I think that's really the tone that I heard from all the municipalities up at NICOM.
Chris?
Yes.
What does it mean to be served by the railroad?
It basically means anywhere that's what I heard from NICOM, we would be included, even though we don't have a train station here. The area is still served by that in the region of the trains.
So in other words, if you're proximate to the train
Yeah.
station?
Yeah, if you have access to New York City, jobs in New York City, things like
I
that.
think when I did some of the reading, it said there were bands, and
Mm-hmm.
if you're 5 to 10 miles, 10 to 20, 20 to 25. and
Yeah, we're pretty
did
much
that
in the
one of that
3%.
band.
Yeah.
So I think that's what they're targeting.
Yep.
But that effectively takes away our zoning code.
It's very unusual to have something like a mandate
That
that
is
would
crazy.
bypass zoning.
And it represents another unfunded mandate. Same as the 2% tax cap. Has been in many, many other unfunded mandates of Albany handing down to the municipalities, but not backing it up with the financial support that's been promised. And this to me would be, as you said, even more egregious because you're bypassing our zoning laws, which it's,
Yeah, and I think we've done
and
a
this
lot
is a
on
home
housing.
rule
yeah.
state.
And this is any type of housing, affordable housing would count 2 times. So if you need to build, say, 100 homes, if you built 50 affordable housing, then that would qualify as 100. Otherwise, it would be 100, market rate.
And I guess there's no look back.
Nope, no look back. No look back.
Wow.
So it's something to keep an eye on. Right now it's in an executive budget. It hasn't been approved by anybody yet, but the legislators I've all heard from are all been expressed concerns about it.
So this came up during her meeting with all of the local politicians, yes?
No, this came up in the executive budget that was presented by the governor. And then in the local meetings we had with NICOM, that's when they go through the executive budget and kind of give summaries of what's included in it. And by far, this was the lead topic from NICOM.
Right, I would imagine. So has she been getting any pushback since it's become
I
public?
couldn't answer that.
I'm sure.
Do we have to write a letter?
I'm sure well,
No,
but
it's more
this is
NICOM's
something
taking
that-
a lead for on our behalf. They may ask for resolutions of support as it goes forward, but
And-
we'll keep an eye on it.
Crazy.
Remember that this is a proposed executive budget, which then gets worked by the legislature.
The odd part of New York, as we all know, there's items that end up in a budget that aren't really financially,
Right.
aren't budgetary.
Policy.
So that's what, it unfortunately happens too much in New York State, that there's a lot of items in budgets that are not strictly financial or budgetary.
Thank you.
Okay, other items. Westchester County has said is going to be doing some modifications to the solid waste transfer station in White Plains, and that's going to be for the entire month of March. What that means to us is that our garbage and paper are going to have to be brought to Mount Vernon rather than right to White Plains. So there's a potential that there could be, with the additional travel and more people going to that facility, we may have some delayed pickups from when a normal time is. So, it may just take them longer to drop off and get back again. So things might be off, for that month might be off a little bit on the normal pattern of pickup times. The police department received a $60,000 grant from the New York State Division of Criminal Justice Services for new body-worn cameras. So that was good news.
Yeah.
And lastly, just today, we had a really nice function at our senior center for Valentine's Day. We had over 100 people, which was quite a turnout. And
Wow.
it was just great to see so many, people who were happy to be there. They had some nice music, and it was just a really nice event. So great job by Liz and her whole team, and Greg, who helped out as well. They asked for his help because they had such a big crowd. So it was really a nice event. It was a lot of fun. That's all I have.
Thank you, Chris.
Thank you.
Yeah, and thanks to Liz for all that great work that she does down there.
Yes.
Amazing, 100 people. Whew.
Yeah.
All right, so we have one item of old business, one item of new business. The old business is the Osborne Place parking. We had discussed this, it had been a new business item, a discussion item that we had at Village Board, I forget when. Oh, December 13th, it says there. And then we had asked for report and recommendation from the Traffic Commission, and they did come back with those recommendations. They were recommending no change.
They
And-
recommended no change. So the question is, does the board want to, continue with the public hearing, or does the board want to get closure and say accept the recommendations? We're just trying to move this one way or the other. We got a recommendation to not make any change from the current recommendation. Actually, we approved that one during the public hearing, so that was just the no parking area. So this has to do with, they were asking for additional changes, and the question is, does the board want to consider those additional changes or not? Because we don't have a local law drafted for those other changes.
Right. Yeah, I think, my personal opinion is that, really the only ones that I still would consider potentially is the dome mirror. I think we heard compelling arguments why a lot of those changes should not be made. And I know we had talked about potentially trying to act as a bridge, putting them in touch with the shopping center there. I don't know if anything's been done.
And we're happy to reach out to the shopping center, at least try to facilitate a discussion
Yeah.
there. It's obviously, that's not something we can impose, that's
No,
something that's
no, it's
voluntary.
not.
But some of the items that were talked about was restricting some of the parking on Bowman Avenue. Also, no, on Bowman, not
We're
on,
seeing it at night, yeah.
we already restricted part of it, but remember they talked about doing, I think, alternate side, and we
No,
also
because
talked
that
about the
wouldn't work
dome,
with
and we
the-
talked about the striping.
No, what they
So
did
we
was
provide,
they moved like the sign, like on the right side.
We did that.
Back.
Yes.
to get
We did
more
that for
space.
more
Sight
visual-
Or,
vision,
yeah,
right,
sight
sight
line, for
line.
better sight
well, we
line.
did that, but then there was some additional things about moving the parking, and then there was also about doing maybe striping of spaces, but to allow for the access to those walkways. But the traffic commission recommended that those take away too many spaces. So
Right.
it's a
That-
question of,
that
now you have a
space there.
recommendation not to do anything additional. So the question is, does the board want to do anything additional or accept the recommendations of the traffic commission?
I think that we can, I think that the one thing that we haven't done is reach out to the commercial owners, so perhaps we should put this on pause before we speak with them. Maybe that's a solution.
Well, but that's not anything that we'd be taking action on. That's just,
So I can reach out to them and just try to facilitate a
Yeah.
discussion on that, but it's not something you'd have, and I can report back what the feedback is. But as the mayor said, that wouldn't necessitate that wouldn't require any action on our behalf.
yeah.
Right.
So this would allow them more parking during the winter months when there's no parking, correct?
What would?
This parking, this resolution here that they want to do with the Osborne.
Well, there is no resolution,
there is
so
no
we approved,
resolution.
all right, let me start over. So at that meeting, we approved some parking modifications to improve
Yes.
some of the sight lines at Bowman Avenue.
Okay, which was?
Basically, some of the signs
Sign
had been removed. We also allowed no
Yes, I
parking
remember that.
on the
Okay.
south side of Osborne.
Yeah.
Because remember, there was a code miss that they need to include it on the south side.
Right.
Right.
And then what happened now is then the residents came and they said, we still are having trouble with parking. And
Okay,
they
right.
explained,
I remember
you know,
that.
not, some of the people from the shopping center park on the side streets. Some commercial vehicles are going through there that aren't in our community, that they're going through to the properties in Portchester that are off of Osborne, but they have to access it through. And there was some other recommendations that were made. They said they can't get into their walkways in front of their, like the mail, people delivering mail or deliveries. It's hard for them to get through because their sidewalks are blocked. So one of the suggestions was perhaps creating like striped parking spaces, but that could obviously, they have to be of a width. You'd probably lose parking in the long run. So that's all those items were items that were reviewed by the Traffic Commission. Their recommendation was not to do any village required changes under our code for those items.
Right, and in this map, it shows here proposed winter parking.
Yeah,
But that's something,
the maps, that's already been addressed.
okay, so they're parking, okay, good. Well, give them
So
give them the opportunity. I mean, they may not like the fact that it'd be difficult to plow there. The plow truck's gonna come in there with winter parking, and they're gonna say, we can't plow this street.
We've been, actually, what they've been doing on the south side is allowing it anyhow. They've been
Yeah.
doing it already, the
And
police.
it's been working.
And it's
Yeah.
been working, okay. Well,
Okay.
one resident has said no, but the other ones have been in favor.
The waiver. All right, so they'll be able to clear the street best they can. All right.
But there is a parking issue there. You know, a lot of the homes are built at a time that people didn't have as many cars as they have now.
Right.
Right.
And
Plus
and
there's
some
that
places, yeah,
commercial there's that commercial company in the back, and that's the only access.
just to go through Rye Brook.
Yeah.
It's insane. I mean, huge trucks going back there.
There's no other pass-through for that?
No.
No.
They can't go
If
through
we
that
catch,
parking
if we
lot?
catch it in the act, we can issue a ticket because commercial vehicles are not allowed on that street through Rye Brook.
But if you've gone down there and if you look left, there's
They're there.
commercial vehicles parked.
Correct.
So
In
how
Port-
else could they get down there?
There's only one way to get there. But the police still have to issue the ticket, and they have to be able to see that they're driving through Rye Brook. They can't issue a ticket in Portchester.
Oh, right, it's Portchester.
Yeah.
Got you. Forgot about that. I mean, there's tons of those
All right.
commercial vehicles
That's
over there
that.
parked.
So we're trying, but, you know, we've made some changes that will help. We can facilitate, try to be, talk to the shopping center and explain some of the patrons there are parking when there's no parking in the lot, that they're parking on Osborne. Maybe that will help. He'll be more understanding to alleviate some of the parking by allowing them to go overnight.
Right, I
So-
think that would really
I think,
be the
yeah.
critical factor.
So we'll do
I don't think
that.
it's parking during the day that is as much an issue as when they come home.
Yeah.
But remember, those businesses are still open when people are getting.
Yeah, there are restaurants and, yeah.
But they were during the day complaining about the fact that their sidewalks were being blocked.
Right,
The mail, yeah, right.
right. Oh,
Well, now it's
We
gonna
can't
be
help
blocked
that.
with the cars.
Right. So
You can put a cone.
I think it sounds like we're probably in agreement with, we're gonna go with the recommendations.
Yeah.
Yes,
Absolutely.
But I'll reach out to the shopping center.
I think that would be great.
Okay?
Thank you.
All right. So then we have one item of new business, and that is that the Doral Greens Homeowners Association has requested potential local law regarding lawn maintenance on vacant properties. So, Chris, you want, or
Sure,
Give a
yeah, I can give an
brief-
overview.
overview?
Okay, so up until last, I think it was 2021, don't hold me to that, but I think it was early 2021, the state code, the state building codes required that vacant properties maintain basically grass and weeds at a point that's anything higher than 10 inches is a violation. Because it was a state code and not we couldn't adopt something more stringent. But what happened in 2021, and it's been an issue where we've talked to Doral, Arrowwood, when it got longer. At one point it was higher. The ground was wet. They did come in and cut it, and afterwards did maintain it. But at times the grounds definitely has exceeded the 10 inches. It's a hard way to go after it because, as you know, once we issue a violation under the state code, the property owner also has 30 days to cure. But
Right.
it becomes a hard thing to do as the growing season comes. What changed in early 2021 is the state code was modified to say that a local municipality can adopt a more stringent local law for vacant properties. So that is what the Doral Greens Association is essentially asking, is that the village consider a local law with something less than the state code in terms of height, and that be enacted as local legislation, which could be enforced by the building department. So that's the request by the Doral Greens Arrows Homeowners Association, and also what's changed since 2020.
So, and I think we have representatives from the Homeowners Association here, as well as from Doral Arrowwood. So,
I think Mr. Noto was asked to represent the HOA.
please.
And right now, just to be clear, there is no local law drafted. This is on as a discussion in reply to the letter that was put on.
Yep, and thank you. Good evening. Great to be here, and not talk about the airport. So, my name is Paul Noto. I am the chair of the real estate committee at Doral Greens, and Dave Russo is the president who wrote you the letter. He cannot be here tonight, so he asked me to come on his behalf. And quite frankly, I could not have summed it up better than Chris, and I thank you for doing that. We did have a bad experience last year. As you know, we live next door to Doral Arrowwood. It is considered a vacant property under the law, and it has been vacant for a number of years. And so last year, as you know, there are 5 holes of the former golf course that run through our property. So, we are inextricably intertwined with this property. And so last year, it was not maintained. It got over 10 inches. Now, as you can imagine, in the spring, it's not just an aesthetic problem, it's a health hazard. You have rodents there, you have people with hay fever and asthma. I mean, it really exacerbates a bad problem. And the prior board had, asked the owner at the time to do it. We didn't get great response. And then Chris intervened on our behalf. And of course, as you know, there's over 200 people that live there. So if you had a higher standard, it also is to your benefit, so that Chris wouldn't have to field phone calls in the spring and summer from 200 angry residents saying, why is this grass not getting cut? But beyond that, beyond, our parochial view, I think, looking at some other communities, I noticed Portchester is at 6 inches. I think for the community, this is a beautiful community. We take great pride in the fact that this is really an attractive community. Fortunately, you don't have a lot of vacant properties, which is, again, a benefit to Rye Brook. So, this would not generate a lot of extra work for the building department. But I think if you had a standard at 6 inches or 5 inches, I think that benefits the whole community. It's not just about us. And I think it sends the right message to the community that the board, takes beautification seriously. Again, not just for aesthetics, but for public health. And so we would urge you, now that you can, and we've had this conversation, we done a little research, and really grateful to Chris for going that extra mile, and finding that we could do this. I had thought we could, but we needed to hear from Chris, and we think it'd be a benefit to the entire community to set a high bar here, and we think 6 inches would be appropriate, consistent with neighboring communities, and wouldn't cost the community anything. I think it's it's cost effective, and I think it's a good message for the board to send. So I thank you for letting me speak. Thank you.
Thank you for coming.
And we also have a representative from Doral Arrowwood.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the board, staff. Brad Schwartz from the law firm of Zarin Steinmetz. First, I want to apologize for my attire tonight. I came dressed to go to work today, thinking I was going to take my family out for dinner this evening. We just found out about this meeting and this issue this afternoon.
Oh, no.
So that's why I'm not in a jacket, not in a suit. So,
And you missed Valentine's Day dinner.
Oh, you're in trouble.
And you missed Valentine's
I'll
dinner,
still
they
get
said.
home for the nightcap. I'm used to standing on a podium, not in a suit and jacket, so I just wanted to mention that. So
wouldn't
we
have to bring it, I
represent
made it.
Cohen Purchase Building Company, the owner of the Doral Arrowwood site. Just got this letter this afternoon. We will provide some substantive feedback and comments to the village. At first blush, we're just not sure that this is necessary. And just to clarify, whatever problems existed in the past, right, the last 2 years, is referenced in the letter. My client just acquired the property early last year. Our client took the aesthetic beautification of the property seriously. As Mr. Bradbury alluded to, our client did cut and maintain the lawn. The only issue, again, as you mentioned earlier, that came up at the beginning was the timing, right? Because of the rains and the wet grounds last spring, our client's landscaper had advised to wait until the ground had dried some before the cutting took place. So yes, there was a little discussion and issue at the beginning as to the exact timing of the cutting, but ultimately, with Mr. Bradbury's assistance, we did it. Our client did it, cut the grass, maintained it. So the reasonableness standard that's currently in your code, we're not quite sure why this necessitates a village-wide amendment to something that's clearly directed at our site. So that's our initial reaction, and wanted just to clarify again that whatever problems may have occurred previously with the prior owner is certainly different than I think what transpired last spring with our client, who takes very seriously the attractiveness of the site and wanting to be a good neighbor both with the HOA and the village to ultimately maintain the property now and ultimately come up with a great plan for the redevelopment of the property.
Thank you.
Sorry you missed your dinner.
Like I said, dessert's waiting.
So
So-
can I make a suggestion?
Yeah.
Okay, so the current code about the reasonableness standard doesn't really apply for vacant properties. So in order to be, if you wanted to do something to usurp the state code, you would have to do a modification specifically for vacant properties. That's my understanding of it. Again, I'm not an attorney, but that's my understanding. I will say this, I think that if before the board considers whether or not to approve a local law, I would ask if there's an openness from both the Doral Greens HOA and Doral Arrowwood to meet with, my office or maybe some of the board members to come up with a plan that may be in writing that people can live with. The reason I say that is it might be in everybody's interest to do that simply because the code process, again, can be a lot longer than for us to enforce through the courts rather than if we get something in writing. I'm throwing that out there to see if there's a reaction to do that. To me, that would be worth a 2-week. We have time before the summer. There might, if there's an openness for all three groups, the village, the Doral Arrowwood, and Doral Greens, to come up with something that everyone can agree to in writing, that everyone could say this is the standard we want to try to get to in the summer. That type of an arrangement, I think, would be more efficient and more protected, and if that doesn't work, then there could be an opportunity to modify the law. But that's a suggestion that I would have if there's openness on all the sides. Okay. So I think that's worth a little bit of time to try to see if we can come up with an acceptable solution. Okay.
Thank you for that suggestion, Chris.
And we can always bring it back. If we can't reach resolution, then they'll consider it. Yeah. I just think it's more efficient that way to try to get, again, something is agreed to in writing.
Just out of curiosity, I know you had said Portchester has theirs at 6 inches. Do you know what other municipalities have?
I know Greenberg 6 inches,
Greenberg is 6.
For residential or
like
vacant?
residential.
See, that you'll see. It's interesting. Our residential code doesn't have any reference to
It's a property
inches.
maintenance code.
It's
in.
just under
Yeah.
property maintenance code.
That's right.
Just talks about a reasonableness standard.
It's something we should think
It
about.
might be something to
It's a
put
bad
in place.
idea to think
If you're
about
going to
it.
do a local law for sure, we'd want to do something to address vacant and other properties.
Yeah, but right, exactly.
Yeah.
Sure, other
But what if I want a
But
native
there
meadow
is
in my
there
lawn?
is something in the property
Well-
maintenance code that addresses the way you could enforce that, because it can be like an area where it's
Yeah.
not really grass. If it's maintained grass, yes, but if it's not a maintained area,
I have a lot
you
of
could grow it wild. It's kind of a crazy.
I think I have some suggestions that might be worth it and
And that's
agreeable to
why
everybody.
this
I think
agreement
it's
may
worth
be
at least
better
a
for
meeting.
you guys.
Okay.
Yeah, the agreement's better for this.
Yeah.
Sure,
sure.
I agree, but I think on a
if not, there's
municipality
other
level,
options.
we
Yeah.
should engage.
And I think for now, let's start with that.
Board updated on the progress.
Sounds
Great.
good.
Great. Very good.
Thank you.
Great.
So, and sorry to make you have to wait an hour to go.
dessert.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Paul, should I follow up with you or with David or both? Okay. Sounds good. Thank you.
Great.
All right. Do we have any further comment from the public? Seeing none. Oh, you would like to say?
No members of the public?
Right, exciting, yeah, I guess so.
The next meetings for is February 28th and March 14th, 2023. Thank you and have a good night.
Valentine's
Thank
Day.
you.
Oh, sorry.
Happy Valentine's
Happy
Day.
Valentine's Day, yeah.
Ah.
March
So
7th.
go.
No.